When it comes to real estate, everything matters. Whether you're a realtor, homeowner, buyer, or seller, Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title is here to inform, entertain, and inspire you. Host Bill Napick from Stewart Title will talk with guests about what really matters when it comes to owning, buying, and selling real estate. Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title starts right now.
You know, one of the things we tell everybody all the time is money is available. It's out there. It's available. There's a lot of good programs. Rates are moving up a little bit, but here's the one thing about it. So the rates are now averaging in the 4s. They're still great rates. There's still great money out there. And there's still a lot of underwriting that's being done. I mean, you've got down payment assistance programs for your first-time home buyers who might necessarily have a very good down payment. You've got FHA loans, which are the Federal Housing Administration loans. You've got VA loans, which is one of my favorite, which is for our veterans out there. The new limits on a conventional loan versus what they call a jumbo loan has moved up. It used to be $417 in 2016. This year, it's $424,100. And so you can actually borrow more.
Also, as we get the binoculars out, we're right here in the midst of January. That we're thinking about the new year. So as people are out there and they may be planning to buy a home maybe in July or maybe even February or next week, who knows? But from a planning standpoint, what words of wisdom would you tell people that are planning to buy a home from the money, and what should they do now, even if it's further in the year? What other thoughts should they have to be ready to buy this house?
Well, the first thing they need to do, they need to find out where they stand today. If they're going to sell a property, they need to make sure that they can afford to buy a new one. If they don't have a property they're renting, they still need to make sure they can afford to buy a new one. So what they need to do actually is do a formal loan application. Now, here's the one thing we get these questions all the time is, well, I'm not looking at buying until the next 3 months or 6 months or 8 months or 10 months, right? The problem is if you don't know where you stand today and you're going to buy 6 months from now, if you wait till 6 months and realize you have an issue, then you've got to wait another period of time before you can fix it. So I tell everybody, whether you're buying today or you're buying 3 months, 6 months, 9 months down the road, find out where you stand. Do a full loan application. Have them review your financials. Have them review your credit. The one thing I will tell you is that a credit report that a mortgage company is going to pull is based on a different algorithm than the traditional credit that somebody might pull through Credit Karma or freecreditreport.com, et cetera. So it's important. If you have a 620 on Credit Karma, for example, you're not going to have a 620 on a mortgage pull. So you need to find out what you can do in the short term and long term to get your credit up if needed to. And if you've got great credit, the great thing is it's probably not going to change. Find out where you stand today. Find out where your numbers lie. Find out what your debt-to-income ratio looks like. Find out what range of home that you can afford to do based on a range of interest rates that might take place, you know, between 4 and 4.5 or et cetera, et cetera. And then that way you can determine that type of home, and you can get with one of the great agents that you've got here today. You get with one of them and go find a home and know that they're going to be able to get in the car, buy a home, make an offer, and make that transaction go very smoothly.
Give us a quick word on buyers and sellers out there. Let's say you're taking a listing right now, this new year, the new market. What are the things you're telling the seller right now to be ready?
One of the big things I tell them is to be sure that you depersonalize your home and to also put yourself in the buyer's shoes. You may think that your house is the castle, but a buyer will walk through and not see your point of view. And on the buying end, I try to tell them to have an open mind when they walk through a home, that they have to remember that they can make any property their own and to get pre-qualified. Understand where you are financially so that we have a gauge to where you can buy.
Give us an idea, from let's say the seller's point of view, as you serve your sellers, what are some of the things you're telling sellers right now? If someone says, hey, Pamela, I want to list my house, what are some of the considerations you're bringing to their attention?
The first thing I say is get ready to move, because once we list, they're out of there.
We're going to sell it. If you're going to sell your house, you better be ready. And also, I would think, as we thought about the idea of the interior design, you better declutter that thing, right?
You better declutter. And take care of that deferred maintenance. I say, even if you're not going to sell right now, do your maintenance and keep your home pristine. Because in the end, when you do decide to sell, it's much easier, less headaches. What happens is that we do tend to let things go, and that drip turns into mold. That drip turns into wood rot.
There you go.
So get it first. Get that drip.
As we just finished 2016, give us a statistic or two.
Believe it or not, we're up 23% November over November. But one of the most interesting things was we had a dormant market. When you got over that 500,000 mark, because of the oil prices, that a lot of the executives were not moving into the typical areas like the Woodlands and Katy and those areas that were high reload markets. It was a little stagnant, but we had a 33% increase in those houses 500 and up. Houston area does as much business as 33 states combined. It's a huge amount of business. So you got to look at markets, your market. If you're in the Woodlands, your market's not the same as what's in Katy. What's happening in the Bay Area.
Pearland,
another one. The markets are micro.
Now, as an interior designer, and most people aren't interior designers, so when I look at my home and I say, man, it's just not looking right, I want to make it look better, and then I stumble away and do a few things. But as an interior designer, when you look at a room, what are the things that come to your mind as to how to approach it to make it fit or to make it nicer for the person, the client that you're serving?
Well, typically I would say that a lot of design is about getting good design, but one of the tricks to having good design is not overdoing it. So a lot of times a designer will help you remove the extra things that you have in the room that may be cluttering the look or making the space not as comfortable or as livable as possible. So the designer will help you actually, not do things and remove things, which will help your space really come alive and be a lot more livable and functional, and it will be more aesthetically pleasing.
Knowing what to keep and what not to keep is a part of every single category, I think. Now, when you approach your own home, as far as decorating or making the room, how often do you change your room? Just out of curiosity, let's take a living room.
When I do something, I like to do it right. So when I did my own home, I did it right. I invested in, a nice couch, nice fabrics, nice things that will last a long time. And it's a look to me that's timeless, and it's something that I won't get tired of. So I think that's another trick to having a good designer, is helping someone figure out what are the things that you love, but also things that you won't grow tired of looking at over time.
And I think you hit upon something too, having high quality, not a lot of stuff, but the high quality stuff and certain components, important components in the home is really a building block or foundational in approaching your interior design work.
Yes, for sure. And there's a lot of technology out there nowadays that are, kid-friendly fabrics and things they used to not have 15 years ago in terms of textiles and things that really help your fabrics that are on your couch and your pillows really last a long time. A lot of them are completely stain, fade resistant, odor resistant. So you can invest, even if you have children, you can invest in nice things and they will last you throughout, your children's childhoods when they might be, causing a little bit more of a ruckus. The key to good design is that the details are really the most important. You might think your walls are white, but there are a million different shades of white. You might know that you want a certain color in your room, but you have no idea, what shade you actually would look best with the lighting in your room and all these different things. So I think having someone who works in the industry, who really knows what's out there, who has experience with all these different things, who can bring some value in terms of the details is really what's most beneficial in design.